Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the finals of the Airthings Masters 2022. This is Sagar Shah and bringing you live commentary from the epic match between Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. Game 1 has ended in a draw. So this is the second game that we are going to look at, and we're going to study this game carefully, enjoy this game analysis. So let's have a look at it together. Nepo opens the game with 1e4. Carlsen responds back with the Sicilian. He plays c5. Let me see if you can hear me well. Yeah. So e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. This is known as the, guys, what's the name of this opening? Yeah, the world championship match was between these two players and they have been pitted against each other once again. Let's see if Nepo is going to be able to get a revenge. Yes, it's known as Rosolimo, Sriram Chakradev, Meera Tripathi, not Rui Lopez, Padaya Kalpesh. If you had pawn on e5, that would have been Rui Lopez, but here the pawn is on c5. So that leads to the Sicilian Rosolimo. e6, castles, knight to d4. The other idea is to put the knight on e7 to defend this knight, but okay, knight d4, Nepo takes, pawn takes, and plays his pawn to c3. a6, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back to d3 because, okay, although the bishop is blocking this pawn, white realizes that black has to take and then dc3, and then his bishop would anyway open up. So bishop c5, Magnus tries to keep things closed. b4, bishop a7, knight a3, knight to e7, and now knight to c2, putting more pressure on the d4 pawn. So finally Magnus takes, pawn takes, and now queen to c7. He wants to attack this over here. c4, gaining space, and now we have this structure which is known as, yes, today is the first day. Is the same for, like, today there will be 4 games but no tie break. Tomorrow also 4 games, and if the score is 1-1 overall, like today Magnus wins, tomorrow Nepo wins, or if today is draw, tomorrow is also draw, then they will go into the tie break. Yes, Vaibhav Dubey, very good. It's called Maroczi bind. Maroczy. So castles, these two pawns are known as the Maroczi bind. Bishop e3, Magnus takes, knight takes, b6, rook c1, a5. Now he wants that white should push so that he can get control of the c5 square, but Nepo does not push. He plays a3, take, bishop b7, queen d2, queen to f4 played on the board, and now rook fd1 and rook fd8. So we have a position where Magnus is clearly, let me not give you the assessment. Let's try to think. What do you think? How is the position here? Who's better and why? And it's, well, white has more space. Vaibhav, you are right. So white has more space in the position. Black is slightly cramped. I think that is the main imbalance here. Yes, this is an open file. You have to keep in mind the black rook can get active. He goes bishop to b1. My question to you is, if Nepo would have taken on e4, if Carlsen would have taken on e4, what was Nepo's idea? Can you tell me what was Nepo planning to do here? Well, not g3 because there is queen f3. Not knight d5 because knight takes d5. Yes, Ben H, you are right. You take on e4 here. Just very simply, like, see, the lot of people over here have given the answer as knight d5. Knight d5 is a blunder actually, because if you play knight to d5, I'm going to take on d5 and then my queen is defended. It's a good idea. You want to unleash a discovered attack, and if I would have been careless and taken the queen, then you would have given an intermediate check and then picked up the piece. But I can take the knight and defend the queen. So the right move here is to take, queen takes, and then take on d7. And this is slightly better for white. So that's the reason why Magnus first defended this pawn. Now he's really threatening to take on e4. So bishop b1 was played, and now they are thinking over here. Nepo has left the screen. Magnus is thinking what to do. So one question to you. Sorry, there was a small disconnection, but I'm back. What is the problem in this position with bishop e4? Why can Magnus not take this? Can he take it? What's the plan? He goes h6. He does not take on e4. But what would have happened if you take? So there is no discovered check as such, still discovered attack, because knight d5, knight d5. Yes, Prathamesh S, I like your move queen d4, pinning this queen here, and maybe he can stop here with f5. Well, you can't really go f3 because of knight c6, and black is better because this is hanging. The other possibility is to take and play queen d6 and then attack the knight and also the pawn. And if you were to play knight c8, I have queen c7 attacking the rook and putting pressure here. So it was getting a little bit worrisome for Nepo if for Carlsen if he would have taken on e4. So he first plays h6, kind of a waiting move. Nepo now goes to d4, not only defending e4 but also attacking the pawn on b6. Carlsen went queen c7 back, and now Nepo here pushed it in with e5, clearly stopping ideas of d6. But what if now Magnus Carlsen plays his knight to c6? What is Nepo planning to do here? Because now this attacks the queen, it also attacks the pawn. What should white do in this position? Let's see how many of you come up with an interesting answer here. The first game, guys, ended in a draw. This is the second game. No, queen d6, Prajwal. Maybe the queen trade is not such a great idea. Like, I can take the queen, you have to take with the pawn, and then rook on a file can get activated. So Magnus not very happy there. He's still thinking. He hasn't played the move knight c6. Let's see what are the answers that have been mentioned here. Queen d6. Look, queen d6 I know could save you a pawn, but let's say after take, it seems like the position is pretty bad after knight b4. So you have to take with the rook. b4 is under pressure, e5 is under pressure, but you want to win the b6 pawn, which is why you played this way. And white could be slightly better here, but instead of this, the right move is queen e4, threatening to check here. And the people who have got this answer correct, queen e4, are Ankit, Padaya Kalpesh, Ayush Mittal, Predator YT, Shankar Yadav, Pro Trigger, Yash Pratap Singh, Writer's Mind, Bhanu Prakash, and the seventh art. So now with this move, I want to checkmate you on the h7 square. But black can just say, I don't care if you want to take or not. I'm taking on e5. You can give a check. I'll go here. You can give another check. I'll go here. You can take here. But then after rook g8, what is going to happen is that my rook, my bishop, and the knight plus the queen are going to launch a big massive attack in the position. So Magnus here doesn't go for knight c6. He plays the move rook a4, and he is trying to put pressure here, but this is a bad move actually. And now Nepo, who has very good position with space, can actually make a move that will give him an advantage here. I mean, there are many moves, but what do you do? B5 I like. Yes, Shubham Shah, Sayam Maiti, God, Rupesh Jaiswal. I like this move b5, because with b5 what are you doing is you're not just saving your pawn, but you're also stopping knight c6. So I like this. The other plan could be queen b2, because now knight c6 doesn't hit the queen. So queen b2 now defends the pawn. It's a possible way to play this way. Also, then the next move could be queen c2 attacking a4 and h7. But I was thinking, if queen b2, could he go knight c6 and do a double attack here? Yeah, then you could go check, like rook b4, and now queen h7, king here, check, and queen g7 is possible. Also possible knight d5, threatening queen h8 mate, ed, cd, and now the knight is pinned here and white gets a winning position. So Nepo has very good chances here to beat Magnus, or to at least get a very big advantage. He's thinking about his move. He's like, what should I do here? Is Magnus sleepy? Maybe, I'm not sure. Rushank says, what about knight c2? Rushank, knight c2, maybe knight c6. You have to be careful. Today they will play 4 games. There's no third place match. Guys, do like the stream if you are enjoying this. And oh, he plays queen h4. That is a big blunder. He just played this. Things have changed drastically in one move. And here Nepo wanted to just attack here. So Nepo is saying, देखो Magnus, you can win this pawn. तुमको चाहिए तो ये भी pawn मर रहा है. But whatever you take, this or this, the knight is hanging. And so here, Magnus has to come up with a powerful move. As black, there's only one move that gives him advantage. Rest of all the moves are pretty bad. So these are the moments where you have to be very, very careful, because if you are not careful here, you may land in a very bad position. So what should Magnus do here? What is the best move? Knight g6 says Padaya Kalpesh, but that's bishop g6. No, everyone here wants to play knight g6, guys, but I can just take, and this is better position for white. Let's say queen e7. So we don't want to do that. Queen h4. Let's see if what is the move that has happened. Knight g6 is not good. Knight f5 also, bishop f5. Knight c6 is one more, but the right move, and which is very, very interesting, is king f8. Ayush Mittal, Siddharth Ranadev and Rohit Sharma. Now why is this move so good? Like, moving your king in the middle game should not be a great idea, right? But king f8 is a very powerful move, and Magnus has actually played it. He's defended this, and he's asking Nepo that how are you going to defend b4 and also e5? Both the pawns are loose right now. How do you defend both of them? It's not possible. Ajay says c5, but Ajay, if you play c5, can take. Now you can't take because the queen is hanging. So he's not going to play c5. It is interesting how the move like queen h4 changes everything in just one move. But it's more to do with the fact that now everything in black's camp is securely positioned, and he's threatening now b4 and e5. How do you protect both the pawns? You have to choose which pawn to give back. King f8 is such a nice minimalistic move. It is saying to his opponent, that my king is safe here. Let's see what Nepo does. He goes knight to g4. Nepo is now bringing in the goods. He wants to take on h6 and maybe launch a big attack. Magnus says, I don't care. I'm picking up a pawn. So he's a pawn up now. What does Nepo do? Can he sacrifice this on h6? Because then I can take, rook takes, knight g6, pushing the queen away. Queen, take, and king e8. And black is winning here because he has two minor pieces for a rook. I mean, clearly better. Look at this. He's sacrificed on h6. I think rook b1 is the most... This is the most interesting move actually. Rook b1 is also possible. There's also queen e5, which is the second best move in the position. Let's see, but it's a very strong move as well. Let's see what Magnus comes up with here, because it's not so simple with so many pawns hanging. Yeah. Right now, Magnus has only 3 minutes 14 seconds. So he's clearly not able to calculate everything. That is his problem. But if he can calculate, he will be better and close to having a decisive advantage here. Ooh, he takes on b1 and Nepo is not so happy there. He leans in, he's thinking, what should I play now? But there's nothing much. Yeah, he has to recapture the rook. What else? Is there some way he can move the knight and threaten checkmate? Not really. There is knight f5, then ef5. Ajaya VB and everyone, the score right now is half half. But now Magnus is better because firstly he sacrificed his rook for the bishop, which was very powerful in this position. The bishop was very powerful, so Magnus got rid of it. And now he's played knight g6 so that bishop takes g6 doesn't happen. Queen h5. And now take queen h6, king e8. And Magnus is a piece up and should be able to win. Oh, this is exactly the position that has happened on the board, guys. Magnus is in tremendous form here. Rook b1, rook b1, g6, queen g5. Okay, take, king e8. Yeah, so black has actually materially white is doing fine because black has rook, knight and a bishop for a rook, and also white has an extra pawn. However, in this position, the rooks are not going to break through very quickly, and the minor pieces mean a lot more. Guys, this is not going to end in a draw. This is going to end really bad from Nepo. He has 5 minutes 33 seconds. He's thinking about what is the way in which he can create play. He goes rook to d6. So Magnus now has to figure out how to continue the game. He would love to play knight e5 because of rook db6. Oh, he did go rook d6. Now Magnus should think carefully and play. If he takes on c4, it's happened. Rook takes b6 and now bishop e4, attacking the rook. So Magnus has put his bishop here in the center, hitting the rook. One possibility is to bring the rook back. Attack here. Now only 4 minutes 48 seconds for Nepo, 3 minutes for Magnus. Now what should What should white do in this position? Because white has pieces well positioned. There are no checks. He cannot go queen h8. He can't go queen f8. Well, if you bring your queen back to c1, think take. This would be really better for Magnus. So, oh, by the way, after bishop e4 is gone rook 6 b4. Once again, it's very difficult to beat Magnus, and if Magnus is better, then he will definitely push here. Queen e2. Now I think rook has to save the rook. Let's have a look at the body language here. Both players super focused, both going low on time. And it's happened. Queen e2, rook. What is Magnus going to do now? Because Magnus can play queen g4, trying to threaten mate here. Also clearly in mind that this bishop is loosely placed. Maybe going back to c6, not a bad idea after all. Just cementing himself. Yeah, he's played bishop c6. Good move by Magnus Carlsen. He has an advantage of nearly a piece extra here. Let's see what Nepo does now. He goes h4. Nepo is like this unstoppable guy. No matter how you come at him, Nepo now wants to go h5. Magnus snatches the pawn with queen e5. Now h5. So knight e7, rook to g4, and now what does Magnus do? Now, maybe it's not so easy to understand that black is better, but I think it's more about how the pieces are, and right now the black pieces are much better than white's. White has rook and a queen. Magnus goes rook to a8. Rook a8 with the idea of coming into the game, but also queen h8 check, winning the rook. It's not going to work because this is now just 3 minutes 20 seconds left for Nepo, while Magnus has two. I mean, 1 minute, we goes rook to g7. You have to ask yourself, what is white's threat here? By putting the rook here, what is he trying to achieve? And Magnus blunders. Look at this. Magnus blunders and Nepo is like, what? Magnus, what have you just done? Why have you given me this free pawn? And he's just chopped it off. And you can see there Magnus is going to be livid with himself. The position was complex, but Magnus was calling the shots. But now after rook f7, roles have been reversed. Now Magnus in trouble. So rook a1, rook takes, bishop takes, 2, knight f5, queen g5, and here queen f4 was the better move. That, you know, he thought that queen f4, queen g5, both the same ideas. I have to be patient. So queen g5 was not a good move. And now after king c7, white is pushing his pawn. Now this pawn itself is worth so much. But can black stop the pawns? Queen f4 had a big threat of mate here, but Nepo didn't find it. He goes queen g5. Magnus goes king c7 and now h6. Magnus comes back, gives a check to the king. f4 looks like an idea here. But this is becoming very intense now. You have to stop the h pawn from queening. I can go f4 as white. And Magnus will have to find a way to not just attack the king, but also stop the pawn. There's also g3 in the air, but g3 creates too many weaknesses. And you can always, I think, move the king. But, oh, he goes king h3. The move that is quite difficult to consider. King h3 has been played, which also shows that right now Nepo thinks he has his chances. Now queen a1 has been played. He wants to get from behind, should check and pick up these pawns. Check by Nepo. The position is around even. Knight. Rook to g7 has been played by Nepo. Check, queen goes back, and now once again Nepo has to find a way to break through. I think for Carlsen, the job of creating some plays over here, he's pushing. Magnus has 35 seconds. Nepo has 2 minutes 10 seconds. Queen h6 is threatened. He goes king g4. He's bringing up his king. Is this king a strength or a weakness? He goes queen c4 and now block with the queen. See, you can never exchange the queens because h pawn will queen here. Come on, queen f4. Magnus trying to play fast while Nepo, having time, is thinking for his moves. And you can see how Nepo has been extremely calm in his demeanor here. If you look at him, like, just after the world championship, I think he's a changed person perhaps, but well, we don't know. So queen e2, king goes back. e5, Magnus trying to play super quick. He has only 51 seconds, but the problem of time is also going to haunt Nepo now. He has 1 minute 33 seconds. Goes queen g4. Yeah, he takes the pawn on f2. Check. Check here, and now queen h3. Now if you take the queen, then I'll take either way, and next move I'll queen. So you can't even take on g7 because then h8 is a queen. So Magnus goes queen f4 check. And now g3 or queen g3, rook g3. I mean, you can also move your king back, but then the checks will continue. So white has to figure out a way to break these checks. Rook g3, queen g3. Yeah, he plays rook g3, now threatening to queen. Magnus goes knight f7. Magnus is holding on somehow. Can we make a queen anyway? So queen, knight takes, queen takes, and this position should be drawish. You have a bishop for a rook, so clearly in white's favor, but white has one pawn. And that is exactly what has happened. Wow. So h6, e5 here. h3, queen f4, knight f7, queen, take, check, check. And okay, although Nepo is checking the black king is very resourceful. He's able to escape. How about, I want to give a check here. Is queen to c3. Okay. Now Nepo has played his queen to c3. Carlsen pushes the pawn. Check. Whose king is safer? Whose king is weaker? The engines think it's a dull 0.00 draw, but I think both these players know that the game is far from over. Anything can go wrong. Now, what does 2, yeah. So king goes to d6, okay. He goes rook g7, okay, and now he wants to maybe give a check. Sorry guys if I said something wrong. I'm just trying to also build up my stamina and commentate. I know that sometimes I get really messed up, but thanks for staying back. Now d3, check. Oh my god. So is the king going to get mated here? That is the question. King d5, check. Where does the black king go? Do we come forward? Do we go behind? Do we go to e6? There are many possibilities here. And both players have 1 minute. It goes king to c4. Now you can't give a check here because the bishop controls it. No, I think the main check on a2. King c3 maybe. Look at this. Magnus coming in with his king all the way in. Nepo so focused. He's like, I can checkmate his king somehow. Check on a3. Are we looking at some sort of a draw after king c4? Or is Magnus going to go all the way in here? Magnus goes in, king c2. I think you can always draw, right? Because check on a2, c1, check on a1. Yeah. Nepo is okay with a draw, but Magnus might not be. He might try for something. But there's nothing much to try for. I think the game most likely will end in a draw. This one looks very important. Oh, he goes king d1. So close to the white king. No, this is the second game. First game ended in a draw. The second game of the day. Right now, Nepo has 1 minute 13 seconds. Carlsen has 55 seconds. And look at Carlsen's king. He's made his journey all the way from e8 to d1. For example, like this king here is very active, but it can also get trapped. Rook f7, there's no mate here, guys. Queen is controlling. But the only move now is to take. Because if you don't take, he's going this mate. Wow. Wow. And let's see if Magnus can take this pawn. Because otherwise, rook f1 is just checkmate. Okay, you might want to give a check here. But after rook f2, this is just winning because I have mates here on the last rank. So queen takes g2, queen takes g2, bishop takes g2, king takes, then d2, and I think the game should be drawn. Yes, he takes it. Magnus doesn't miss it. Now king e2. Ooh, d2 was already a mistake. King here. And here white wins. But King e2, rook f2, king e3, maybe rook f3. Yeah, this time seems like the game might end in a draw. Carlsen has 47 seconds, Nepo has 44. Are the 2 pawns stronger than the rook? Not really. But is the rook stronger than the 2 pawns? That also I don't think. Use king e2. Check. King e3. Maybe a draw here. Yes, so the players have agreed to a draw. That brings the score to 1-1. Let me just... The game has ended in a draw and now the scores are 1-1. Just trying to bring up the scores on the screen. So there are 2 more games today and right now it's 1-1. So let's return when the next game begins. It will start at 12:30, I believe. Until then, I'll put some music, yeah, and I'll talk to you guys. Let's talk a bit. What do you have to say? Ah. No, the main thing is that, let's say, many times I have other things to do throughout the day, like streams or other work, and then when I start to commentate, it becomes quite heavy. And yeah, I do understand that it gets a little tiring, but I want to try. I want to try. So thank you for your support. Yeah, I'm trying to... Ahan says, how will the winner be chosen? Like the most points out of 4 first games, or more games will be played? No, I think the main thing is it's day wise. So in the first day, there are 4 games. Whoever reaches 2.5 wins the day. Then tomorrow another match like that. If 2 different players win matches on both days, then we will have tie breaks. Otherwise, one of them will move forward. I mean, will win the tournament. National results were, I think, top seeds won. There was one upset. Suyog Wag managed to beat. I think you can always stay in touch with all the latest information through Instagram, also on our website. But right now, I think Suyog Wag managed to beat Indian, and Kashish Jain managed to beat Vishnu Prasanna. So those were some of the results. Thank you so much, Shivam Upadhyay, for becoming supporter of Indian chess. So let me see if I can start some music and... Let's see the sound. What's the good sound? Satvik says, I need some endgame books. Satvik, what's your level? Maybe you can choose Silman's endgame course if your level is around 1000 or so. Pro Trigger, who taught me chess? My father taught me chess. Okay, let's Pune clips I'll put up tomorrow. Let the games begin in some time. Till then it'll start in 8 minutes. I'll be back. Yeah. Okay, so the game has started, and right now Magnus has the white pieces. He opens the game with 1d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, c5. So the queen's gambit declined, but goes for the Tarash, cd, cd, queen d4. It's like the Wesley so way of playing. Ed, bishop g5, bishop e7. Clearly you can't take and win a pawn because bishop c3 check and you lose your queen. So first e3, now castle, rook d1, knight pushes the queen away, queen goes to a4, queen b6, now putting pressure down on the b2 square. And let's see, what does Magnus Carlsen do now? Because he has this position, and also I think it has reached quite a few times on over the board chess. So I mean in normal games, let's see how many times it has been played. So if I go here and I try to use the mega, take c4 e6, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, c5, cd, cd, queen d4, ed, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, castles, rook d1, knight c6, queen a4, and now played the move queen to b6. So there are a few games, 4 games. Pyrun versus Lupulescu continued with queen to b5. And maybe this is the move that Magnus might play. Let's go and check. Magnus is still thinking for his move, what to play. Alagappan says, first super chat, I really respect your hard work and dedication. I look up to you a lot. Wish I could be like you. Any tips? Alagappan, I think thank you first of all for your super chat, and it's very kind of you to send this. For me, I feel personally it has been always very difficult to be like someone else, because there are clearly things which are very unique to each person. And I would say that if you could find something which works for you, that would be better. And I think it's the same with let's say Magnus Carlsen, for example. He says that I don't have any idols or some players whom I worship. I take good things from everyone and I try to make myself the best version of what I can be. And I think that's the thing which we should all do. We should all try to strive to be the better version of ourselves rather than trying to emulate someone, because that unnecessarily puts a lot of pressure sometimes. Okay, so queen to b6 puts pressure on b2, and the some of the moves that I can think of are queen b5. There's also a very concrete way to play this position. Oh, he goes rook to d2 and defends this. Um, but let's say if I take, and take, attacking here and here, then queen takes b2. I'll try to put the score. Let's see if I can be like a pro. And do this without showing you anything. Okay, so the score here, score line is the following. Should I put it? Let's put it here. Yep, there you have it, the score right up there, but maybe not there. I should put it somewhere else. Yeah, maybe here is better. Okay, so the score is 1-1. So this is what we were analyzing, but this does not seem the best. I mean, it's possible to play this way, but he went rook d2, bishop e6, bishop d3, h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3. Nepo clearly playing dangerously here, and now bishop to b4. And Magnus Castles. Well, you could think of playing something like h4 in such a position, but with the queen cut off from this side and the knight jumping into e4, it seems like black should be completely fine here. So he castled, and now Nepo goes knight to e4. Bit surprised with this move. Okay, firstly he says that look, you can take on e4, but not with the, yeah, like with the knight would mean a mistake because of de4 attacking the bishop and the knight, and on d2 that doesn't work. But he took with the bishop, pawn takes, and now got his knight to d4. So Magnus clearly having a nice position here. And also guys, opposite colored bishop position incoming. So let's say I just was thinking of, like, for example, you take rook takes, bishop c3, bc3. Now you spoilt his structure, but e4 pawn is weak. Also making a move like f5 is a massive blunder because of white to play, guys. Why is this a blunder? Okay, Ahan Nawab says, inspired by you, I started hosting a chess tournament. Next month is third season. All the best, Ahan. Keep it up. Yes. Akshay Patil plays chess. Samarth Gandhi, Pranav Dandekar. Well done, guys. The move is rook d6, attacking the queen and also the bishop. So you can't do that. So how should black continue now? The thing is, I always feel afraid when I have pushed my pawns in front of the king. But I think it's a very fine line as to when it is okay and when it is not. So if black can kind of exchange pieces, enough pieces, control the center, it should be okay. Say for example, here I take, you take, and I play rook f d8, something like this. Now it's not very easy to make use of this. Say suppose you go h4, just trying to shift, but I exchange the queens. So then what happens is that you are not able to take advantage. You try to go queen c2 to attack here, and somehow I have enough resources. Let's say I take on d4, rook d4, and maybe a move like queen f5. And somehow I'm able to keep my king safe with the pieces around it. Yeah, you can win this pawn, but maybe it's not the best move because of an interesting move here. Let's see if you can find it. Black to play. Very nice move. Josa says, Sagar, I study in IIT and here a lot of students play chess and even there are many tournaments going on every time. Very nice, Josa. It's very cool to know. Karnaraj says, Sagar, by any update on Indian IM stranded in Ukraine? Yes, Anvesh is his name. I spoke to him and he is, right now things are okay with him in the sense of having all the facilities like electricity and food and stuff, but clearly very worried because anything can happen. Yeah, so well, not bishop d5 because bishop d5 is a blunder. Can you tell me why? See, this is like you are trying to make use of a pin, thinking that the rook cannot move because the queen will hang. But a pin, say one queen pinning the rook against the queen, could become a discovered attack from the queen by the rook moving to the opponent's queen. Yes, Papadopoulos Panayotis is right. Rook e8 check, rook takes and queen f5. You win the queen. So this is not the best move, bishop d5, but the right move here, and I don't know if anyone found it. No, I don't think so. The right move here is queen g6. And the idea is bishop f5 now. And this could be quite dangerous, you know, for white. See, it's not so easy to break this pin. So this backward move of queen g6 or queen h7 is very difficult to find. Now let's go back to the game. He played bishop to c4, okay, attacking the rook, and Magnus could have gone rook c1, but he went rook d1. And now he takes on c3, okay. I think bishop pawn takes c3 forced. And now bishop d3, blocking both the rooks from getting active. Siddhant Kumar says, why not queen a5 instead of queen g6? But you know, Siddhant, if queen a5, I can move my rook, right? While with queen g6, I keep a pin in the position. And now bishop has sat down on d3. So this one bishop and pawn greatly limit these two rooks. But at the same time, what you have to understand is that this bishop is very active. This knight is also looking at all these weaknesses. So how does white now create some play in the position? Let's have some answers on the screen. What do you think, guys? Let me see what suggestions you have. Ghosty, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, love you, Sagar. Love your streams and analysis. Thank you. Now, Nepo has got up from his chair. He's moving around. He's clearly confident. Yes, very good. Akshay Pardeshi. Dheena Bhatu. Yatharth Nakul, Padaya Kalpesh, Sai Mahendra, Vijay Gurnani. So taking advantage of B file is a good thought, pro trigger, but the problem is that the B1 square is controlled by the bishop. So the most logical move, I think two moves, one is H4, trying to open up the king a bit further. And the second one is F3, and very good job, all of you. You have found the move F3 in this position. Deena, Akshay, Padaya, Sai Mahendra, Dhruvang, Abhishek, Mayank, Preet, JK, and Vijay. Well done. So F3. And now you can't take because of Rook D3. So you're clearly sort of weakening his structure. And I think that was a good idea. But Magnus went for knight F5. And these are the moments where, you know, these top players do something very nice. So our first reaction is that, oh my god, my h6 pawn is hanging, let me go and defend it. But if you do this, now Magnus is very happy. You know, they are brutal. He goes knight to d6, he attacks this pawn. Or he could even start with f3, attacking the center. So Nepo says, queen c5, just get the hell out of here to the knight. Because the knight says, oh, but I can take this. To king g7. King, not g7, goes king h7. Knight g4. Black to play. Black to play and win material, guys. Zach Gaming says f3. Why can't you play f5? Zach, the main thing with f5 is that it weakens the king even further. Black king. Yes. Padaya Kalpesh, Alagappan, Pro Trigger, Tushar Gaur, Nishant Seth, Sayandeep Ghosh, Riyan Patil. F5 is the correct move. The knight is trapped. So queen c5, good move. And now Carlsen goes knight to d6 in the position. Carlsen is looking at the b7 square as well as putting pressure on e4. What should black do here? Black has only one good move in the position, and can you find it? Black to play. Come on, guys. Black to move. What do you do? These are all training questions to make you better. F5 will not work. B7 will hang. So be careful. Let's say what are the answers that are given here? B5. Yes. I like this move. Queen a5 I don't like so much. Although it looks very interesting, this move queen f5. I don't like it so much. Like you can just go back here, attack here. Putting pressure. So the move that I was looking for is b5, attacking the queen. Now queen has to move. Let's say you go queen a6. And now maybe f5. And somehow the b pawn has been saved. The f pawn has come forward. It seems like black has fine position here. So let's see what Magnus comes up with. He has 8 minutes on his clock. Yeah, let's look at the people who said the move b5 in this position. Sai Mahindra Classic said Rayan Mohammad, Yash Kiradu, Yash Gupta, Anand Singhal, Aditya Saxena, Ram, Ritesh Kumar, and Mayank. These are the right answers. Yeah, he plays the move b5. Well done, Nepo. Nepo attacks the queen. You can see how Nepo is super strong. Of course, he lost the world championship match, but otherwise, he's like really, really good. And now, what should Magnus do is the question. Nepo is clearly dominating here. He's got his bishop in the center. So Magnus has to play carefully. Goes queen 6. Just a second, guys. He goes queen a6. Okay. Queen is now well positioned. You know, the thing about the way in which Nepo has played is that he's played it so ambitiously that he has to keep finding good moves. Yeah. Say, for example, you take here, already some things are wrong. You know, like I can go knight f5 with the idea of queen c6, queen c6, knight e7 check. So you have to take it carefully. Black goes f5 in the position. And now Magnus has to carefully play here. The f4 is a big threat, so Nepo has started to create massive threats in the position. You can see him quite relaxed there. Carlsen, on the other hand, has to figure out what to do. So here's a interesting variation. A4 in the position. He must take. And now queen takes a4. Now playing f4 weakens the e4 square. Let's say f4, knight e4, bishop e4, queen e4, fg, check. and that is better. So a4 is a very interesting move. Now say you go f4 directly, and now I don't touch this bishop. I take here. Take, take, take. Well, he's going to recover the piece this way. So actually to f5, there's only one logical and good move, which is a4. Apart from that, everything else, black is in control. Four minutes 24 seconds for Magnus Carlsen. Not easy to pick a move like a4 when the bishop is getting trapped with f4. Also, the bishop is not alone. The knight ka pura future depends on this bishop. So it's like two pieces are in trouble. Akbar Ali says, I have a few queries about Delhi tournament. Is there a way to know the people participating? Do we need to stay at the room provided by them? So, Akbar Ali, I think they will, in the entry fee that you pay, maybe they will talk in the brochure whether you get stay or not. If you are getting it, then you can stay in that. You don't want to stay, you can also choose your own hotel. It's completely fine, doesn't matter where you stay. And also chess results is the best place to know, chess-results.com, and then you can type Delhi Open. It should come like few days in advance before the event. Wow, and look at Magnus, he's found the move a4. How cool is that? He finds the move and asks Nepo, what is it that you want? Now, tell me. I think f4, yeah? Nepo should go f4. Making game is getting really, really heating up. I think f4, AB. Take, and bishop h4. Rohit Reddy says, can you try calling Samay? He was tweeting about the match. What did he tweet? The king says, when Magnus gets desperate to win, he becomes engine. True. And he's able to find the best moves. But I think Nepo should go f4 and put pressure. And then we'll see how Magnus deals with it. Because let's say take. Yeah, he's played f4. Ooh. Game heating up. You can see Nepo is so calm and cool and composed, while Magnus is so nervous. I think this is all learning from the World Championship, right? Where Nepo lost to Magnus in so many games. And he learned, he became a better player overall. So he takes the pawn. You can't take here. Knight takes. Even knight e5, which is a bad move actually. We had seen this. Actually, better move would have been queen takes. But he went knight e5, which we saw as the most human way to play. But after ef, gf, now the bishop can move. It's bishop h4. And already black is in massive trouble. Why can't this is good. This is cool. Like bishop h4 seems like the right move. Here, white to move. Oof! Look at this move. Magnus goes knight takes e4. Wow, a move that we did not consider at all. So bishop e4. And now he went queen e6. Oops, sorry. Queen e6. Seems like white is doing fine here. So 4 bishop h4 would have been stronger, but okay, knight e pawn takes. Oof. So now the things have actually gone in a different tangent itself. So after bishop e4 check, knight f7, queen e4, fg, g, and yeah, this seems like a complicated position because black has a knight, white has 3 extra pawns. Well, the main thing here, guys, is that although Nepo has an extra piece and Carlsen has only 2 pawns for it, the king is weak. But Nepo says I can drop my queen back from here. It's a question of whether the knight is stronger or 2 pawns. What do you think? So just to tell you how they reach there is that after f4, ab, knight e5, ef, gf, I think bishop h4 and white is doing very well, but he took on e4. He wanted to simplify. Takes. Check. Knight back. Queen e4. Fg. Hg. Queen takes c3. Now Carlsen is within. Queen takes c3. He goes rook to d7. Takes the 7th rank. The rook on 7th rank is very powerful. At the same time, like, let's say, what does black do? Like, let's say, can black do? He played queen e5. Check. I think he'll go queen g7 back. Yeah. Ooh, he just moves his queen away. Because I think what Magnus wants to do is he wants to make use of this knight, which is not doing much. But if he can win this pawn, and then he manages to push his b pawn, should be a very difficult defensive task for, I'm sure. So here, take queen check, queen a6. And now queen e5 has been played. By the way, Magnus can, I think, already draw the game if he wants to, with check, queen back, and check. But here he has a winning move as well. Let's try to think what the move is, guys. Try to figure out white to play. Ooh, he finds it. He finds it. Rook d5 is the move here. He's actually found it. And he's attacked the queen. And queen g7. Very good. I mean, all those who found rook 1 d5 without looking at Magnus's move, fantastic job. Well done. Now, what happens is the rooks are well positioned. So what next to do? They did repeat once. Rook 1 d5, queen g7. And now here, but also possible was this move, rook d6, because after take here and take here, and okay, black is in big trouble because his rooks are not coordinated. So this pawn is an important one. So he went here. Plays rook f5, rook a e8, Rook takes a7. So Magnus has one more pawn. He now has 3 pawns for a piece, but more importantly, the b pawn is very, very strong. Queen g4 was played, attacking. What should Magnus do here is the question. Queen g4, he's trying to get active. He's trying to attack the rook. Let's say I go rook f6 with the idea of check here. But then I go check, king here, and queen h5 mate. Queen g4, he played rook f4. Because now if check, king h2, king he gives a check, king moves up. And now check means I'll go rook h4. But he goes check के बाद queen e6. And now the queen goes back to e6. And what does white do here? That is the question. Should he take the queen? Because once you take the queen, I think black can hold this easier than with the queens on the board. So maybe Magnus do something else. Oh, by the way, queen e6. No, he goes queen e6. He goes rook f6. Queen takes and b takes a6. Now, as a position, this might look pretty simple. Only like few pieces on each side. But the number of possibilities are immense. And things have moved ahead a bit. So here, three, here, 4. Just pushing the pawns slowly. 4 but this should end in a draw, I think, because the rook cannot come out. a6 is hanging. Pawn cannot be pushed because anyway that pawn is hanging. This looks like another of those games which should end in a draw. So rook a4, king h4, king here, and this is the position. What happened? You drew? Oh, they drew. here, here, f4, here, takes, check, 7, and they drew because he takes, knight takes, and it's a draw. So third game also ends in a draw. We just have only the fourth game left, and the next game should start in 10 minutes from now. Great game and fighting game. Guys, I know that I'm sleepy, but I want to finish today's commentary. That is something that I want to do. So please do help and support by not asking me to sleep. Although I may sleep. This music is not good. Okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes from now for the last game. And I'll try to cover the last game with more energy and try to make sure that, because I think it will be a decisive game. Guys, welcome back to the fourth game. The score is tied at 1-1. Nepo has the white pieces as we put an end to this music of Strauss. It was called Blue Danube by Strauss. Magnus Carlsen is yet to arrive. Jan Nepomniachtchi is on the screen. You can look at him. He is. Today is day one. Tomorrow is going to be day two of the finals. Let's see how that goes. First, do you think that this game will also end in a draw? I think it can be an interesting game because Nepo with the white pieces will try. You know, there were many ups and downs until now, and Nepo had his chances but did not take them. Okay, let's make the move and see if that is what is going to be Nepo's move. He in the previous game when he was white, he had played e4. Okay, let's see what he does here. It was a Sicilian. Ooh, game has begun. 3, 2, 1. Yes, he's played e4. Oh, e5. Maybe a short draw incoming, guys. Knight f3, knight c6. Not a short draw. Bishop c4. He goes for the Italian. d3. So Nepo not playing those bishop b5 lines which would lead to a draw. He goes for bishop c4. Italian. a5 is played by black, trying to keep the option, like not castling very soon, because then bishop g5. And you can see that Nepo also going rook e1. Knight goes to a3. Oh, this is this what they at 6 now. Bishop b8. Ooh. This is all their preparation. d4. Castles h3. Can we take? Guys, what's a typical move here? After take and take for black, what is a very typical idea in this position? So he goes rook e8 here, but there's a typical idea here. Yes, Nishchal Nayak, you are right. d5 is the correct move. But here, I don't think Nepo was. I mean, Carlsen was happy with what he got, because here the queen moves and then the pawn pushes ahead. So that's the reason why Magnus said, I will go rook e8 here, bishop d3, and now knight to e7. Ooh. Here's a question to you. Nishal Patel, thank you so much for your super chat. If here DE, okay, DE and knight e5, what is the winning move for black? Black to play. Come on, let's see how many of you can get this answer late in the night. It's quite late. He didn't take, by the way. He played c4. But what is the problem here? Yes, soft prob. Sagnik Digupta, Abhiraj Ratna, Abhishek Madankar. I believe that you want to say c6 there. Sneha Shna, Yash Gupta, Peculiar, Aditya Saxena, Arpan Mitra. Well done, guys. Very cool. So many people giving the right answer even at 1:35 in the night. Look at this. That is so cool. We have close to 24 people who've given this answer. Brilliant job, guys. So 95, the main problem is that c6 attacks the knight and also this knight. wouldn't work. That's the reason why he goes, instead of taking here, he goes c4. And then black plays a knight g6, d5, and now Magnus is thinking. What is he thinking? So why did he take d5? There's no logic to taking this. I think he can just go back, but he took, and now Magnus takes with the knight. He takes with the knight, pawn takes, and c5. Ooh, he goes c5. But c5, can we not play c6 now? Yeah, he does that. He does that. He pushes it away. Bishop at least opens up. This could become a weakness for sure. Sangam Rai, thank you so much for your super chat. Bishop e6. Black finishes, slowly finishing his development. This bishop can go to a7 to put pressure here. Queen can come to e7 to put pressure here, but he goes and defends this pawn with bishop e3. Queen e7. And now white has to be careful. I think queen c2 makes sense, no? I would play queen c2, just putting pressure here, or defending there. Also knight a4. Yeah, knight a4. What about that? He goes queen e2 instead of queen c2. Maybe queen c2 he didn't like. I don't know why. Maybe this is also a fine move, but he chose queen e2. Can I put some light music while the commentary is going on? Usually don't do that. I don't know which one. Quite. Hello. Okay. So he played queen e2, and now black has to decide what to do. Okay. So as black, I'm thinking about bishop a7 to connect my rooks. Generally, connecting the rooks is an important thing that you should be achieving. But bishop a7 will be met with knight a4, not only taking control of c5, but also with the idea of knight b6. And then you can go rook a d8 and you have nice. But somehow, if white is able to maintain this pawn on c5, black is a little bit cramped. So that's the reason why Magnus is now taking a think here. Like his last move, he's been thinking for quite some time. And he wants to know exactly the way in which his next plan is going to be. So, should he go knight h7, knight g5? Maybe. Should he go bishop c7, rook a d8? Should he go bishop a7, rook a d8? Many plans in this position. Also, he can, I mean, I'm just thinking, can black go for a4, a3? But a4, maybe there is a3. Not good music, yeah? This is not good. Don't like it. Oh, Magnus plays bishop c7. Very quiet. In fact, the bishop has not improved his lifestyle considerably. Whatever it was doing on b8, it is doing the same thing on c7. In fact, even lesser, because now it has no option to go to a7. But one thing which it has done is that It's a team player. It says, I cannot look at my two friends being separated from each other. So I'm going to just move and let them connect with each other. Okay, Nepo says, enough is enough. I'll play b3. Just a quiet little move. Knight we can go to a4 anytime. Okay, now I think Magnus can go rook a d8. Because, okay, maybe rook e d8 is also nice. Something you should do. Vaibhav Shreyas, the idea of bishop c7 is that these two rooks are connected. Generally, connected rooks on the last rank is good. Miten Panchamatya says, "Kal result hai. Please wish me luck." CA ka. All the best, Miten. I hope that the result would be good, and if it doesn't come out well, still no worries. But I hope it will come out well. Oh, by the way, knight d7 to attack, knight a4 to defend. But Magnus will now go maybe knight f8, knight g6. The knight could be placed there. Magnus chooses this rook to d8 because he wants to keep this rook on the a file already because the a pawn has moved, and I can understand. Now knight f8. Somehow with white, Nepo is always getting that small edge, and even here with this c5 pawn, it's such a thorn in black's camp. It's protecting b6 and d6 and all of that. But Carlsen wants to go like knight g6 and knight f4. Queen c2 by Nepo. I don't know why this move. Queen c2. What is the point of it? Let's say I go knight g6. I want to come here. Oh, guys, what does Nepo want to do? Can you tell me? What's his point? Champ TV says both are playing too solid. No one is trying to attack, take risk. It's just building up. It's like there could be things that can happen. So yes, bishop f1, Nishchal Nayak, Yash Gadhia, Atul Kumar Purushu, love your move, bishop f1. Just drop the bishop back. Then you can go g3, bishop, and limit this knight. Always. But okay, if I go knight f4, it's an open question. Now you can't go g3 because of h3 pawn hanging. But I can go king h2 with the idea of g3. It's a queen h4. I won't go g3 soon. But okay. Anyway, after knight f8, queen c2, he went rook d7. You can see how Magnus understands that it's important for him to remain solid in the center. So he's trying to get the other rook in. Nepo drops his bishop back to f1. And Magnus takes on d1. Okay. Yes, knight b6 is definitely an idea for sure. You just time it well. Now, rook d8. Magnus offering another trade of rooks. Maybe just keep the rooks. Possible. Giving up the... Giving up the d file looks a little bit stressful right now. I mean, you don't want to give up the d file as white. Rick Der Vries. Thank you so much, Rick, for your super chat. Nepo has like 14 minutes on the clock. And look at him, very cool, very calm, composed. Somewhere you feel like keeping this rook on the board. You know why? Because you have more space. When you have more space, you have a bigger room. You want to keep the ooh, and that's what Nepo has done. He's kept the rook on the board. And then next move, he may want to go b4. Let's just assume knight g6. You go b4. I take, you take with the rook. Yes, I know these two pawns have become isolated and separate from each other, but what about this weakness on b7? That's quite a weak pawn, and I can gang up on it and attack. Ajinkya says, why not build for b4 by going a3? The reason, Ajinkya, I don't want to play a3 is because I wanted to take with the rook. If I took Shikhar Sharma, thank you for becoming backer of Indian chess. If I take with the rook, I can put pressure on b7. If I play a3 and b4, then I take back with the pawn. Yes, I have b5 plans, but it's just, it may not be too strong. So that was my idea. But you can see Magnus doesn't go to g6. Magnus is like, अरे knight यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं करेगा. The knight would be very, very sort of out of the game on g6. So he goes knight d7 and he keeps up the pressure on c5. Now, again, it's a question. Should we go for b4 or should we go for a3 b4? That's a question in the position. Magnus definitely not very happy with his position. It's interesting how Magnus is wearing the t-shirt of his sponsors, which has Simonsen, Wing, Meltwater, Offerspiel, MasterCard. Recently we got to know there's one company with whom he signed a deal recently. Do you know, guys, which company it is? While Nepo, on the other hand, has no sponsors, nothing. He's just wearing a t-shirt and chilled. Yes, champ_TV, you are right. Puma is the one with whom he signed a deal. And this is very interesting, you know, like Magnus is able to unlock many new corporates who are getting attached to chess, which is very cool. Like, he's working with MasterCard, then Puma, and that's the way, you know, people believe in him, they trust in him. Supporting him adds value to a brand, so that is very cool for the sport. George Picardo says, does Magnus make more money from his sponsors than playing chess? I guess so. I think it should be. I'm not sure how much he earns from playing. Okay, when there's World Championship match, I mean, and he gets 1 million plus euros, that should be a lot. But I'm sure he charges his sponsors also a lot of money. Nepo is a bit confused actually what to do. You know, he has, I think, couple of plans. One is directly b4, and I won't be surprised if he plays that. The other one is a3 b4, gaining space there. The next one is rook d1, trying to repeat like rook d1, knight moves away, we go back and forth, back and forth. Ajinkya says, can Magnus go rook b8 and try for b5? Maybe not, Ajinkya, because after I take en passant, then c6 pawn would be permanently alone and isolated. Yes, champ underscore TV says, I hope in the coming years all super GMs should have sponsors. I agree with you. Either sponsors or a lot of good tournaments to play where you have the opportunity to earn. He goes b4, right? So this is the move which we were thinking he would play. Take, and now rook b8 played by Magnus very quickly. He played rook b8. In fact, there was another possibility here which could have taken place. Black to play, what would you play? It's a very cool move, and you would see this theme quite less or rarely. What is the move here? Madhav says, Sagar, does sponsorship of brand add pressure to our mental health while playing chess as people expect us to play good? I think anything that you do which you are not used to will add pressure. But once you get used to it, it does not. And I think top players are able to believe that they add value to the brand anyway. So, I mean, they do not get stressed out so much while playing. Anyone? H. Lee. Well done, H. Lee. You've given the right answer. Anyone else? Mega Tokyo. So b5 is the correct move. Let's say if black is able to keep this and you have to move your knight away, then after rook a8 I have pressure down here and I'm better. So you have to take cb and then queen b4, then bc, c8, and okay, this position white has sacrificed an exchange, but after queen c6 he should be doing pretty well. But Magnus was like, oh, all this b5 business, I don't want to get into it. Let me just play Shanti se. So after rook b4, he went rook to b8 here, right? And rook b8, you went queen b2, putting more pressure, and finally b5 lashed out. Clearly you have to take en passant. You can't move the knight away because knight c3, bishop a5 traps the rook. So you take en passant. I think so. And then Magnus goes bishop d6 now, attacking the rook. Very interesting play. The rook is trapped. Ooh. Guys, did you see that? So, where does the rook go? But maybe you don't save this rook. You already have like this b6 pawn, if protected well, could become something. But would it be worth an exchange? It's to be seen. What should Nepo do here now? So his rook is trapped. a3 has been played. Okay, take, and now maybe take with the pawn, so that later on you can plonk your bishop on c5, right? This is a very interesting move. AB. Say if I can get my bishop here, and then you take with the knight, then I take with the pawn, then I have two nice protected passer there. What do you think should black do now, guys? What do you think that black player should play? Like I was thinking, if can we go rook here, then knight c5, and then knight takes b6, knight takes e6, knight a4. And next move I'll pick this up. So this is so jumping in like here with rook a8, black needs to do something, you know. I think white's position is easier to play in spite of being materially down. Mega Tokyo says, what happens if this game is also drawn? Then both players go with 2-2 score and nobody won today. So now Magnus is thinking, if you look at the camera and his face, he's like in deep thought what to do. Meanwhile, guys, if you're enjoying this commentary and feeling the thrill of the match, please do like the stream. Also do subscribe. We are closing in on the 861k. We are 296 people away, but please do like the stream. Magnus is thinking since a long time. Eight minutes, 14 seconds for Magnus, 6 minutes for Nepo. On that note, I'm going to change the music so that now that it's a tense part of the game. Magnus seems to be thinking very deeply for his idea here, for his move. And he goes queen d6. And white plays simple chess, bishop e2, stopping the queen from coming to d1. But now, very nice move that Magnus has is rook a8, very good. And now if you go knight c5, then rook a2 makes a lot of sense because e2 is hanging. So bishop e2 is not a good idea. I mean, bishop e2 is Could have done something better like queen b1. But when bishop 2, rook 8, good move by Magnus. And now I think it must start dawning on Jan that his position is looking good. Like, let's say if I go knight c5, and if he had to take here, I mean, fine, but also here is okay. And Nepo going down on time. He has 4 minutes 26 seconds left. What should he do, guys? What should he play? Can he push his pawn? Pushing the pawn makes no sense because I can just take your knight. This is not queening. Not a good idea. Oh, and he goes bishop to c5. Oh my god. From being slightly better now, Magnus seems to have gotten an advantage. But guys, how is this an advantage? Try to think. Let's try to learn here. Take, Magnus says, Nepo, I'm giving you a protected passer. Thank you so much. Okay, if I take with the rook, that's not a protected passer, then I can go rook a2 and I can win your bishop next. Okay, fine. So I'll take with the pawn. I'll say I have got a strong structure. However, after this accurate move, queen d4, now the knight is hanging. If you take back, say if you take, now this is hanging, so knight b2. Not sure why this should be like completely better, but yeah, rook d3, 8. Somehow black has a clear-cut advantage and everything under control. So knight takes c5, flashed out by Magnus with 7 minutes, but Nepo now has 3 minutes because it looks so natural to take with the pawn and get a protected passer. But at the same time, Nepo starting to realize that maybe having just the pawn such far advanced that to protected is not all. Have to get this pawn to queen. Well, he takes with the knight because he clearly understood that the knight on a4 is not so well placed. Now, what's your plan, Nepo, to rook uh, 2? Let's say, for example, rook a2. I think Magnus should play rook a2. It's the most active move, but you don't make these moves lightly because this pawn is just 2 steps away from queening, so you have to be very, very careful. Okay, 2 queen here, rook takes e2. Yeah, he plays rook a2. Magnus Carlsen seems to be in control. Now, what should Nepo do in order to so rook a2 attacks the queen and also the bishop, And big blow for white. So what to do? Okay, what about b7? Was queen c3. And the pawn is not pushed yet. And let's say I take on e2, then b7. And after knight a6, I mean queen, that looks very bad. And queen b8, b5. Push this pawn. Guys, Magnus has to figure out a way to stop this and queen. And how can he do it? Black to play. What is the move here that black can play, which will give him a winning position? Queen b8. And now, I mean, this is by theory of elimination what you want to do, because knight a6 and queen. d7, and now time is 4 minutes 26 seconds for Carlsen, 2 minutes 18 seconds for Nepo. I think the next b7. Nepo is thinking now that he might really have some chances here, but once Carlsen Carlsen, instead of going queen b8, goes queen c7, and he has missed a powerful move now for his opponent. Queen a3. Nepo finds it. What a move by Nepo. Excellent chess. So the thing is that if he had gone queen b8, and I mean, just doesn't make sense, right? I can go rook a2 and stop the white queen from invading. But it takes b7, queen c7, and an excellent move, queen a3, which was played like queen a3, threatening a check and then queening. So queen a3, and now Magnus Carlsen has little under 3 minutes to stop this check somehow, and also the queening. How about rook a2 here? Does that have any significance? Oof, there is knight e6 involved, so you can't even. So queen a3, and now Magnus, I think, knows that this is the time when he has to really be focused here. Black play. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, so the question is, what should black do here? Black has to find some. Also, like this rook d2 to rook d8. It's one possibility, but yeah, it's too basic. And now he plays rook d2, which is right move, trying to make sure that when you queen, so rook d2, now not knight a6 because queen b7 hangs, queen a8, that is rook rook d8. Check, rook goes back, and knight a6. Wow. So if I take, you make a queen, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. You take here, queen, and then queen c8 takes, and everything's traded, and they should agree to a draw. It seems, I guess so. Magnus. Knight a6. And Magnus goes queen d6. He's still fighting for the full point. Takes, rook takes. Oh, that is the issue. But what if do this? So take queen. And now you see, with all these mass trades, I think the players will agree to a draw very soon here. And that means today we had 4 draws, but not uneventful draws. They're all fighting games. F3, F6. I mean, 1 minute is a lot of time to play such positions. Uneven. Queen b6 played. So like he goes bishop to c4, knight c5. Somewhere it seems like Nepo is still trying hard for the full point because he has a knight and a queen that are more active. The opponent's bishop, and in general, sometimes symmetrical structure, knights can do better job as there are no pawn breaks easily available. But still, the position is very well dynamically balanced. Like, say, can play bishop here, can get solid h5. 5. Nepo plays h4 as well, stopping the pawn from coming further down. This pawn is weak, but that can always be defended by bishop b5. King comes up to g6. What next, guys? This game is getting interesting from the perspective that I thought it would be a draw. They are fighting. Both the players do not want draws. It's like this grudge match, right? Because Nepo had lost the world championship. He wants to beat Carlsen. And Carlsen doesn't want to lose to Nepo because he's already beaten him. G3. King h7 and a draw incoming, guys. King h2, king h7, king h. Let's see if Magnus is ready, but let's see if Jan is ready or not. He plays, yeah, king h2. I think Magnus, look at Nepo, shaking his head. That seems like a logical. Oh, look at this. Nepo not accepting a draw. I think he's just enjoying himself at the thought that, okay, let me make Carlsen suffer for a bit longer in this position. It could also backfire. Now let's see. Things look under control. Oh, he comes in, queen d2. Queen to c6 has been played. 30 seconds for both the players on the clock. What is Carlsen going to do now? He goes. Checking here. Oops, the players have agreed to a draw here by accepting. I think Nepo took the pawn and there was a mate idea here and perpetual on the board. With that, score is 2-2 today. 4 draws. Nepo played well. I think he missed a lot of chances. Carlsen also missed his chances. Many chances that were missed. Maybe I can make a video tomorrow saying what are the chances that were missed. Clearly better, but okay. Thank you all for following. I tried my best to keep my energy for the last game. Maybe it fell short a bit, but I wanted to finish the commentary for tonight. Thank you all for supporting, and also see you all tomorrow for the second day of the finals. Until then, good night, guys. Bye bye. Yogesh says, Sagar sir, please share some of your practical life experience one can apply in their life from today onwards that can help them in peace of mind and get best of them if they are stressed in their life in 20s. Yeah, I think it's very important to understand why you are stressed. Like, for example, in chess, many people say that he plays too fast, and that's why he makes mistakes. So you can end at that, or you can go deeper and you can think like, why does he play fast? What is the reason for that? And then you go even deeper. by saying that maybe when he was very young, he got inspired by someone seeing and he started playing fast. And maybe that when you realize that why you are doing something that you are doing, it can open up new horizons and new ideas, and you can fix that issue. And I think it's the same with you. Like if you're feeling stressed, what is it? Um, what is the reason? Try to go deep into it. Try to understand yourself better. Also, just also it helps a lot to remember that every person's journey is different. The speed of progress for every person is different, and what money might mean to some or fame might mean to some, I think it's different for every person. So I think it's not the same. For example, someone could be really hungry about financial success, while someone could be really hungry about making a difference. You need to understand what is important for you. And I think if you do that, you would be able to, you would be able to continue doing what you are doing for a long time. And at the same time, I'm clearly struggling myself in many things. And I think it's people, every person struggles in some or the other way. So even if you become like very successful in anything, success is again very relative, but like let's say in terms of financial or fame or followership or whatever, you will have new problems to solve. It's a never ending thing. So might as well enjoy what you have right now and keep improving yourself. I don't know if that helped, but it is 2:23 in the night, and that was the best answer I could give. So take care, guys, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.